Well, good evening, my creatures of the night. I'm Chuck Dewclaw, your trusted source for news, nonsense, and absolutely inappropriate cinema. And look, if you're looking for highbrow, sophisticated film analysis, well, you took a wrong turn at the Haunted Swamp. Because tonight, we're counting down the 5 raunchiest, filthiest, and most scandalous movies of the 20th century. That's right. Films so shocking they make a werewolf's tail curl and a vampire's cape fall right off. Now before we begin, let me warn you, this list is not for the faint of heart, the easily offended, or anyone who still uses golly gee in a sentence. We're talking about movies full of sex, sleaze, and scenes so ridiculous they should come with a warning label. If you're watching this at work, you should probably quit that job and just become a full-time degenerate like the rest of us. And by the way, this is definitely NSFW. So sharpen your claws, hide your grandma, and grab some popcorn because we're about to sink our teeth into the dirtiest, filthiest classics Hollywood ever dared to release. Let's start off with a movie so outrageous it makes a full moon mating ritual look tame. Alrighty, starting the list off and coming in at number 5, we have the glitter-fueled train wreck that was Showgirls from 1995. So this financial shovel to the face is a movie that tried to be an erotic drama, but ended up being the cinematic equivalent of a pole-dancing werewolf on roller skates. It's got strippers, betrayal, and more nudity than a werewolf transformation scene. You know it's going to be good when it stars Elizabeth Berkley. Yes, that's right, Jessie Spano from Saved by the Bell, who decided in her own way to break away from her wholesome TV past by, well, grinding on anything that wasn't nailed down and had a pulse. The plot? Well, if you can call it that, it follows Nomi Malone, a drifter who moves to Vegas to become a professional dancer. And by dancer, I mean she spends 95% of the movie either stripping, screaming, or pushing people down the stairs. The film takes us into the world of showbiz, where the competition is cutthroat and the acting is so wooden it could be used as a stake for a vampire. And then there's that infamous pool scene. Oh, the pool scene. If you haven't seen it, let me stage it. Imagine 2 people flailing around in the water like they're being electrocuted while someone plays soft jazz in the background. It's not sexy, it's not romantic, it's a seizure in chlorinated form. Scientists are still trying to figure out what exactly they were doing in that pool. The best part, you ask? Well, this movie was supposed to be a serious look at power and ambition. Instead, it became one of the most unintentionally hilarious films ever made. It was a box office disaster, but over the years, it turned into sort of a cult classic for the absolute wrong reasons. If you want a movie that is so bad it's, well, amazing, this one might be for you. My final rating? 4 out of 5 unnecessary dance kicks. If you ever wanted to see Vegas strippers act with the subtlety of a howling banshee, well, Showgirls might just be for you. Moving on to the next spot in our list, we've got Blazing Saddles from 1974. That's right, the movie that can never be made today. It was a comedy that took one look at political correctness and then drop-kicked it in the balls. This is a movie that offends everyone, equally. Cowboys, politicians, racists, and, well, anyone who's ever had the misfortune of eating beans by a campfire. If Hollywood tried to make this today, the entire studio would get canceled before the trailer even dropped. The plot? Well, it was simple. A corrupt politician appoints a black sheriff in an all-white town, assuming the townsfolk will lose their minds. Spoiler alert, they do. What follows is a series of gags, insults, and fart jokes that somehow create one of the smartest comedies ever made. It's satire with a capital S. And it roasts everything and everyone in its path. Speaking of roasting, let's talk about that legendary campfire scene. You know, where a bunch of cowboys sit around eating beans, and the next thing you know, we have a symphony of farts that could wake the dead. Forget epic battle scores, this is the most iconic sound design in cinematic history. It's crude, it's disgusting, and it's Mel Brooks at his absolute finest. And then we get to the fourth wall breaking madness. This movie doesn't just tell a story, it blows up the entire Hollywood system while it's at it. By the end, the characters literally run off the set and into the Warner Brothers lot, punching actors, breaking props, and basically turning the film industry into a joke. My final rating for this one, folks, 5 out of 5 nervous Hollywood executives sweating through their suits. If you haven't seen this movie, correct that mistake immediately. Just maybe don't watch it with your grandma or racist neighbor. Coming in at number 3, we've got Body of Evidence from 1993. That's right, folks, a movie that asks the important question: can sex be used as a deadly weapon? Well, according to this film, the answer is a horny and resounding yes. If you thought your last breakup was messy, imagine being put on trial for literally banging someone to death. That's the entire plot of this fever dream of a film. Madonna, yes, Madonna, that Madonna, plays a woman accused of murder by intercourse. Apparently, her ex-lover was found dead, and the coroner ruled too much sexy time as the cause of death. Look, I know we all want to go out with a bang, but this is borderline ridiculous. And leading the investigation? Well, that's none other than Willem Dafoe, the man whose face looks like he's permanently stuck in a horror movie. He plays her lawyer, but naturally he can't resist Madonna's charms, because nothing says good legal defense like hooking up with your client mid-trial. And oh boy, let's talk about the wax scene. Well, Madonna blindfolds Willem Dafoe and drips hot wax on him like she's making a Yankee Candle commercial. He moans in pain, she keeps going, and suddenly we've entered territory that no jury should ever have to hear about. And let me tell you, nothing kills a courtroom's dignity faster than having to describe an erotic candle torture in legal terms. Now, was this film a cinematic masterpiece? Absolutely not. Was it even a good movie? That's kind of also a no. But was it unforgettable? You better believe it. It's like Basic Instinct's drunk cousin, sloppier, messier, and somehow even more absurd. Madonna gives it her all, but the real MVP is Willem Dafoe's face, which spends the entire movie looking like it's a second-guessing every life choice. I mean, I don't know. My final rating for this one, 3 out of 5 melted candles. If you like your thrillers trashy, ridiculous, and full of questionable legal ethics, this one might be a must-watch for you. Alrighty, moving into number 2, we've got Basic Instinct from 1992. You had to see this one coming, folks, especially after the last one. That's right, the leg cross that shook the world. Now, if Body of Evidence was the poor man's Basic Instinct, well, let's talk about the real deal, shall we? Number 2 on our list is a film that single-handedly made every detective in the 90s forget how to function. That's right, Basic Instinct. AKA Sharon Stone plays 4D chess while the rest of the world plays checkers. This movie follows Michael Douglas as a detective investigating a brutal ice pick murder. But let's be real, nobody cared about the murder. All anyone remembers is Sharon Stone's interrogation scene. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, you've somehow managed to live under a rock your entire life. And honestly, I respect that. So here's the scene. Sharon Stone, playing an insanely confident femme fatale, is being questioned by a room full of cops. She's sitting there, cool as a cucumber, smoking a cigarette, while these guys are sweating harder than a werewolf trying to pass a human through their digestive tract after a wild full moon. And then bam, the leg cross. The most famous leg cross in cinematic history. For a brief moment, Sharon Stone broke the fabric of reality. And men everywhere forget how to form sentences. Now let's go back to Michael Douglas there for a second, because this man goes through a lot in this movie. Sharon Stone plays him like a fiddle. drags him through a psychological blender, and I'll be damned if he doesn't just keep coming back for more. At one point, they have the most aggressive on-screen sex that I have ever seen. Well, at least until Monsters Ball with Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton, but I digress on that one. And when I say like I've ever seen, we're talking turn off the cameras, someone is getting injured levels of passion. If you showed this movie to a Victorian-era nobleman, he'd probably combust on the spot. Get it? Combust. Anyway, my final rating for this movie, 5 out of 5 detectives forgetting their own names. This movie is wild, iconic, and guaranteed to make you look at ice picks in a very different light. Well, here it is, folks. Number 1, according to Chuck, and it's going to be Porky's from 1981. That's right, the horny teen classic that would get you arrested today. And now that we've reached our grand finale, the raunchiest, the filthiest, and the most absolutely unhinged movie of the 20th century. It's the godfather of teen sex comedies, the film that made high school look way wilder than it actually was. That's right, folks, Porky's. This movie follows a bunch of horny teenage boys whose entire personalities revolve around trying to get laid. Seriously, that's the plot of this. There's no deep meaning, no hidden message, just pure, unfiltered teenage perversion. It's kind of like American Pie, but without any shame or restraint. These guys spend most of the movie peeping through holes, sneaking into strip clubs, and generally being the kind of people who would 100% get arrested in today's world. Speaking of peeping, let's talk about that infamous shower scene. These high school boys literally drill a hole into the girls' locker room wall so they can watch them shower. Let me repeat that. They drilled a hole into the wall of the girls' shower so they could watch them. Now, if that happened today, it would be an immediate FBI investigation. But in 1981, just good old-fashioned comedy. And then things take a turn when the gym teacher catches them in the act. She manages to grab one of them by the junk through the hole that they drilled. That's right, folks. This woman yanks a teenage boy's most precious assets through a wall while demanding to see what he looks like below the belt. And then there's Porky's, the infamous strip club these kids keep trying to sneak into. It's run by a guy that is, well, he's so sleazy even a werewolf wouldn't trust him with a raw steak. The boys manage to get inside only to get humiliated, thrown out, and chased through the swamp like they're in a bad horror movie. It's gross, it's ridiculous, and it's the most 1980s thing ever put to film. Was it inappropriate? Oh, absolutely. But it set the blueprint for every raunchy teen comedy that came after it. If you ever watched Superbad, American Pie, or any movie where teenagers act like absolute degenerates, then you have Porky's to thank for that. My final rating for this film? Well, we're going all the way up to the top, folks. 10 out of 10 lawsuits waiting to happen. This movie could never be made today. But its legacy, well, its legacy lives on in every awkward, overly horny teenage comedy ever made, from here to eternity. And there you have it, my fur-bearing degenerates. The 5 raunchiest movies of the 20th century, at least according to Chuck. From sleazy strippers to criminally horny teenagers, these films pushed the boundaries of good taste, and then tripped over them and face-planted in the mud. They were controversial, ridiculous, and in some cases, downright illegal by today's standards. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to scrub my brain with holy water and then rewatch Basic Instinct for research purposes. Until next time, stay lewd, stay liking, and remember, if a movie makes you deeply uncomfortable, Well, it's probably a classic. This is Chuck Dewclaw signing off. Stay furry, my friends.